All right, now let's take a look at what we have on our local dailies. On the front page of the Star newspaper, why Chebukati numbers don't add up. Why Chebukati numbers don't add up, according to Raila Odinga. He says that Forms 34A issued at polling stations contradict those uploaded in portal. All right, so we have got an illustration here of figures at center of Azimio case. For example, he's outlining Mombasa, County Vihiga, Bomet, Narok, Muranga, etc., etc. And the forms 34A, 34C, and the variants are therein completely outlined there for you on the full page of the front page of the Star News. You can take a look at that story. Kibwana ditches Azimio, joins Kenya Kwanza. Outgoing Makwene governor Kivutha Kibwana yesterday became the latest prominent figure in Azimio la Umoja to defect to President-elect William Ruto's Kenya Kwanza alliance. Kibwana was received by Ruto at the deputy president's current residence in Nairobi. Last month, Kibwana admitted that there have been some quote-unquote small political differences among Azimio leaders from Ukambani. So that is there. Counties demand millions for new governors events that will be taking place tomorrow. All the governors will be sworn in different counties. Many incoming governors are set to start off on the wrong foot after revelations emerged that millions of shillings will be splurged in their swearing-in ceremonies on Thursday. Now, some counties intend to splash in excess of 20 million shillings in the event. Expect little rain this week, Met says in forecast. The weatherman says that some rain is expected at the end of this week. However, northern Kenya, which is ravaged by drought, will not benefit. A principal meteorologist at the Kenya Meteorological Services, Andrew Njogu, said that the coming rain will only reach a few places around Lake Victoria and in Rift Valley Highlands. That is a story there. Activists want Ruto's win annulled over irregularities. They say that it was wrong not to consult with the 4 commissioners, and it's now said that it's actually they have been christened as Serena 4 and Bomas 3. That's what's now happening here. So the 4 have challenged President-elect William Ruto's win at Khalif Khalifa, George Osewe, Ruth Mumbi, and Grace Kamau. They said that Chebukati was wrong not to consult with the 4 commissioners who declined to honor the final results, thereby excluding them from the process. The battle still continues. Women leaders who lost election ask state for jobs. Under the Women Political Leaders Kenya, which comprises women who successfully reached the ballot to vie for elective seats, they asked to be considered for appointive positions. And now former Nairobi senatorial candidate and chairperson of the group, Pamela Ateka, said that women who fought successfully against men at the ballot are great assets. And I think I can also affirm that. Kuria asked court to throw out Raila's election petition. Of course, is one of the petitioners in a cross petition filed on Monday at the Supreme Court. Kuria said that the actions of Azimio leader Raila Odinga through his agents amounted to a breach of national security. And of course, that is in the place of the Supreme Court to decide. And some rather sad note here. Double tragedy as child in arson suicide mission dies. Kelsey succumbed to her injuries on Monday, a day after the incident. The family said that Kesley Mutheu died in hospital Monday, and she was with her mother, Elizabeth Munyalo, when they were lured by Dennis Musyoka to a trap in a suicide murder plot in their car. It's a story that has been trending for a couple of days now. Munyalo was stabbed 6 times by her estranged lover, but managed to jump out of their car as the man set himself on fire, with Mutheu trapped inside on Sunday at about 11 a.m. Young soul taken away because of relationship difference. And finally, Raila, why Chebukati's numbers don't add up. It's a full page of a story here with the different numbers and variants in his argument from different constituencies. You can take a look at that story. It's a full page splashed out here for you to take a look. Of course, that is now the main thing that will be running until 5th of September when the Supreme Court will give the final ruling. Jen.
All right, let's have a quick run through of the front page of the Daily Nation, starting with that particular story concerning the Ministry of Health. And in this particular story, the ministry denies the swine flu outbreak. This is a story that has been covered in proper detail here on page 8, where the Ministry of Health and the health authorities in Nakuru have deferred over the announcement of the swine flu outbreak in the country. And now, according to the ministry, none of the samples, that were taken to the influenza reference laboratory turned out positive for swine flu. However, what they did detect was the seasonal cold and not the swine flu strain of H1N1. And they go on to raise concerns as to why this particular announcement was made. And Dr. Amoth actually said that an outbreak of swine flu is not something that should be taken lightly, and faulted the county for making an announcement without involving the Ministry of Health. However, they did also give some background as to why it could have been. This conversation went this way with the swine flu because the H1N1 virus, commonly referred to as the swine flu, in the past, infections have happened in people who have been in contact with pigs, hence finding this particular relation. But issuing a statement, they said that there is no H1N1 or swine flu that has been confirmed. And he went on to further say that the announcement now puts Kenya in an awkward position because now the country has to alert the African Union as well as the World Health Organization, and yet there is no case to report. However, a letter has been written to Nakuru County authorities to put the record straight in regards to this announcement that was made. So that is that in regards to what the Ministry of Health had to say about this particular announcement. On matters education, scramble for limited junior high slots. This is a point of concern considering there will be over 1.2 million learners who will be joining junior secondary in January of next year, who are now going to be competing with those that will be transitioning from the 844 system to also join Form 1 in the very same schools that they will be attending the studies together. Now, concern has been raised. That story has been covered here on the back page, considering there will be limited number of spaces that cannot fully accommodate this entire number of candidates and learners that will be transitioning to junior high as well as Form 1 from CBC and 844 respectively. Elsewhere, there is an interesting story here. How we plotted Uhuru's downfall. How we plotted Uhuru's downfall. This is a piece concerning Deputy President-elect Rigathi Gachagua. Speaking of a meeting that transpired that led to the 2018 truce between Raila Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta, he goes on to give the background information and details and reveals a plot that, quote-unquote, culminated in the toppling of Kenyatta as the Mount Kenya kingpin. Quite a story right there. It's covered on page 6 through to page 7 of this particular daily. And finally, the story that I believe is on most of the dailies this morning, the smoking gun in Raila's petition. Here they go on to highlight a number of issues, looking at claims of hacking the IEBC servers to alter results. They point out 56 hackers gained access to IEB servers to alter the results. They also put questions in regards to the number of people who actually turned out to vote. Did the IEBC chair alter these particular numbers? Also, the question of vote inflation. While William Ruto's votes topped by illegally some 217,000 votes to enable him being declared as the final victor in that particular election. Questions around the verification and the tallying, and especially so involving now the other IEBC commissioners. There is also issues raised in regards to hiding the evidence. with questions around whether the results form that were put on the public portal were being manipulated and also missing constituencies. Did IEBC announce presidential results without factoring in those from 27 constituencies? That story has also been covered here in much detail, which we will be giving you. But first, Regina.
Front page of the Standard, it's all about inside Raila's evidence, so to speak, and Raila, my case in numbers. This article, highlights the 140,028 missing or unexplained number of votes. This particular presidential petition is not just going to go after the votes, but also the process. Then we had the controversial percentage, 0.01. It is not about the percentage, but the number of votes it represents. Then, according to the petition, is that 49.99 is a correct percentage of votes that DP Ruto should have been assigned. Then 33,208, the number of sample voters in 8 counties that were not given 6 ballot papers. In this particular, the just concluded August 9th polls, each electorate, each member, each person who turned up across the 46,229 polling stations was expected to be given 6 ballots. In this particular petition by Azimio Moja, One Kenya Lands, it points out that 33,208 persons, a number of people in 8 counties who are not given the full 6 ballot papers. Now, 27 is a number of constituencies whose votes were not tallied and announced at the time of the official declaration. Some of these constituencies include Nyakach as well as Lagdera. So we'll be looking at further details in regard what is contained in Raila's evidence. Now, affidavit revelations from the questioning the figures and the authenticity of Forms 34A to claiming that President-elect William Ruto failed to attain the 50% plus 1 threshold inside Raila's evidence. That's the big read on this particular daily. Matters interest of heart, especially as a parent and a guardian, is a now CS Education. Professor George Magoha wants caning back in schools. Reason given by the CS there is that the return of corporal punishment in schools is meant to arrest the rising cases of indiscipline and among learners. When corporal punishment was actually, replaced, so to speak, or rather banned in 2001, and in place the Children's Act entails that we need to protect the children from abuse and violence. Now we are going back and saying that we need to have the cane back in school. There was a lot of controversy around that particular decision there to scrap off or rather ban corporal punishment. But now we are back to this particular conversation. Now, runaway discipline issues, especially in school, have been on the rise for the last 10 years plus. And maybe this is one of the issues that is informing this turnaround in thinking in as far as policy is concerned. Quoted in this particular daily is that we shall not handle children with kid gloves. It is not time for children to dictate what is supposed to be done, and we cannot give children what they want. Walking a very thin line there when it comes to matters of discipline as well as, having sanity in our learning institutions. Yeah, so that's that. Caning may be back in schools. Other than that, the pending bills headache for new governors. Remember, we're going to be having the gubernatorial inauguration celebrations to be televised to you live from at least across 17 thereabout counties. There, in total, there are 45, but 2 are yet to have their elections, and these are going to be done on Monday. And you can bet that KBC Channel 1 for Kenya Decides is going to be keeping tabs on that. G.
All right. I'd like to just pick up from that particular point concerning education. That's going to definitely be something that parents will have a lot to say about caning being reintroduced. All right, now coming to the back page of the Daily Nation, next year's double intake is expected to severely stretch school resources. Now, they've gone on to give a highlight of some of the schools that will actually be experiencing the highest shortages across different counties. Now, let's start with those counties that will be facing the highest shortages. Kakamega County, needed places are 93,703. Bungoma County, an excess of 83,000. Nairobi, an excess of 83,000 places for kids to be placed. In Nakuru, an excess of 60,000 is needed. Kilifi, an excess of 58,000. Migori, 58,000 as well. Homa Bay, 54,000. Narok, 54,000. Kisumu 50,000 and Busia 45,000. And this is just what is needed, not compared to the actual numbers, because it's based on the schools that are already there. Now, counties that are facing the lowest shortages include Lamu, Isiolo, Taita Taveta, Nyeri, Tharaka Nithi, Embu, Samburu, Tana River, Marsabit and Garissa, which range between 4,000 and 11,000 places needed. Now, picture that. And of course, the many other counties that haven't been mentioned, and a surplus of 1.28 million learners that will need to transition to junior high for CBC learners and Form 1 for 844 learners. So this is a crisis in the waiting, considering also next year is when we are set to resume the normal academic calendar year for our students, given it was thrown off for the better part of the last 2 years. So the ministry, however, goes on to say that they are ready to accommodate every learner, given they need to ensure the 100% transition policy is still effected. There will be they of course project a shortage, but they're looking to ensure that the 1,489,144 learners are all placed in schools. So this means they would require at least 29,783 classrooms in almost every institution to ensure that all the learners are accommodated. So we still have a few months to go. It's a wait and see game at this particular point. But again, it should definitely come to a time where we get to witness this particular transition. Victor.
Githongo links Itumbi to rigging plot. Anti-graft czar says that man was part of 56 hackers exposed how Raila votes were stolen. In a 22-page affidavit, the Inuka Kenya Nisisi CEO said that he got information from a whistleblower who was introduced to him by his colleague. Now, the whistleblower alleged that Itumbi led a team of 56 hackers who are believed to have interfered with the August 9th general election. Githongo, a governance expert, claimed that the whistleblower revealed to him shocking details of how, together with others, they were involved in a scheme to interfere and compromise the IEBC electronic voter transmission system. But Itumbi, when contacted, said that actually he dismissed the allegation, saying that Githongo had created a fictional composition and is ready to meet him at the Supreme Court. That is a story that is worth reading as well. Kibwana Diches Azimio Camp joins Kenya Kwanza legal team. He will be among lawyers defending Ruto's win in petitions filed at the Supreme Court. Now, there is an interesting story here. Supreme Court verdict on Odinga petition to determine Uhuru's exit. The fate of President Uhuru Kenyatta's leaving office next month now lies with the Supreme Court as it rules on petitions challenging the election of William Ruto as his successor. Uhuru has remained tight-lipped since the declaration of Ruto as president-elect can only hand over power after the apex court gives its verdict on the matter. He can, however, refuse to hand over, and the swearing in of the president-elect proceeds since this rests with the office of the Chief Justice. The final verdict is, once the final verdict is delivered, there is a statement here by the Law Society of Kenya president, that is Eric Theru, who says that the swearing in can continue in the absence of the outgoing president. This even happened in the United States. Trump decided to fly out while, his predecessor was taking office, and life goes on.
Life goes on.
Yeah.
And actually here they go on to say that this particular elections has triggered the highest numbers of petitions ever filed against the polls agency when it comes to presidential results.
Yeah. So Biden is sitting pretty fit in the office, and that can also happen because I think this constitution actually looked at different scenarios where that can happen. Of course, I don't want to get into it because I'm not a legal expert, but we can all assume why the Constitution put it that way, that it rests with the office of the Chief Justice. In the absence of the Chief Justice, the Registrar of the Judiciary can also handle that matter. So it's all system go either way. Okay. Wrong start as counties to spend millions for befitting inauguration, quote unquote, befitting inauguration. I'm likely to see how this thing will be. When it goes to a tune of 20 million shillings, inauguration, a function that takes not less than, or even not more than 3-4 hours. You want to splash. All right, it's good to have a party, but think about it. Because actually the Supreme Court, we have got judges across 47 judges already ready to swear all the governors, the senators, actually the governors, to be sworn in. I'm just thinking, why have a small function in your office and it's a done deal? Just thinking. So many incoming governors are set to start on their own footing after revelations emerged that millions of shillings will be splurged in their swearing-in ceremonies on Thursday. In what heralds the continuation of wastage of taxpayers' money in the counties, some counties intend to spend in excess of 20 million shillings in the event. Now, many counties have been on the spot over wanton wastage and misappropriation of public funds. How this is going to be tomorrow is also a story that will be worth seeing. And finally here, how Boda Boda operator, quote unquote, stole his own bike after defaulting loan. Now, charge sheet reads that the rider gave false information to the police. So alishindwa kumaliza kulipa, then hoping the business would earn him good returns. I think it did not go his way, so he decided to, quote unquote, steal his motorbike, but it was not on his side. Again, over to you, Regina.
Well, now just giving us a quick overview, it seems that this particular daily is totally focused on the presidential petition there. Just looking at the different angles here, there's a whole pull out that is indicating the part of evidence Azimio has presented in court. It has quoted some of the constituencies, the particular polling stations, allegations at 100, numbers range between 100, 120, 60 or 20 votes that were shifted from Raila Odinga and, allegedly given to, rather put in President-elect William Ruto's tally. For instance, we have Kiamba Kawaida Nursery School polling station. 1 out of 5, so it's alleged that 30 voters were deducted from Odinga and added to Ruto. We also have Gatundu North Kamwingi Primary School polling station, 2 out of 6, where 120 votes were deducted from Odinga and added to Ruto. This is just an article that samples some of the evidence that has already been brought forth, or rather we saw be taken up to the Supreme Court at the Milimani locals just before deadline when it comes to the time allocated to file a presidential petition. This also firming up that IEBC has been accused of changing forms 34A and 34B uploaded on portal. Witness claims that Ruto was added 217,631 votes in form 34C, and this particular witness allegedly says that the presidential result as declared by Chebukati is inaccurate. in the next 14 days, and then we will know the way forward. And the timelines that we are looking at to get that verdict from the Apex Court is September 5th. So we have to wait. Some of the counties that have been flagged by Azimio include Mombasa, Vihiga, Kajiado, Bomet, Kakamega, Narok, Bungoma, Busia, Siaya, Kisumu County, Homa Bay, Migori, Kisii, Nyamira, Murang'a, Marsabit, Trans Nzoia, as well as Diaspora, Nandi, Kericho, Nairobi, Nakuru, Makueni, Machakos, West Pokot, Embu. A total of 271,631 in their respective counties. There, certain number of votes were allegedly moved from the petitioner to the respondent there, where the petitioner here is Raila Amolo Odinga of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance, and one of the respondents happens to be President-elect William Ruto. Now, also farming up compromised servers there, an IT expert. This particular article details on how Githongo there got some documents and shared with an IT expert there, who is an IT security and cryptography expert, who says that from the analysis of the documents that were sent to him by former anti-graft Sir John Githongo, his conclusion is that the IEBC servers were accessed by persons who would delete or alter the documents sent through the servers. A day before we actually took to the polls, we had an exclusive interview run on KBC Channel 1, where the ICT commissioner in charge of matters ICT, as far as the IEBC is concerned, Justice Nyangaya, went further to also highlight that, they had noticed some attempts to hack the IEBC portal, but they managed to stem that. We are likely to see further details in regard to this particular utterances and allegations, being that this is one of the issues that has been raised in the presidential petition. Still keeping up with matters, petition and such, we take a step down memory lane and we take you way back in 1992, where Kenya had its first presidential petition. Now, this was also after the return of the multi-party politics, and it was the first time that Kenyans were directly voting in a presidential election. Now, the then president, the late Daniel Arap Moi, garnered 1.9 million of the total votes in a poll that had 7 contestants who definitely, and by virtue of fact, divided the opposition support, with the second runner-up being Kenneth Matiba with 1.4 million votes. Now, a critic of President Moi, Matiba cited massive irregularities in the conduct of the poll, both ballot stuffing, outright rigging in his petition, and asked the court to nullify Moi's victory. You'd want to read about the first presidential petition there that was laid out there in 1992, just after Kenya had regained a multi-partyism. So you can take a trip down memory lane to just understand how far we have come as a judiciary and how all this has changed. Court verdicts have changed and reshaped elections. It just did not start in 1992. We have seen that all the way from 2013, what happened, 2017, and here we are in 2022, and we will know come September 5th the direction the Apex Court is going to take in regard to the petitions that are before it, where IEBC is expected to spend big on legal fees as petitions pile up. IEBC is directly funded by the Exchequer, yes. So it is your money and my money as a taxpayer that is enabling the IEBC to actually take that up. So in as far as the audit report for the financial year 2017-2018 is that the legal fees that IEBC incurred went to the tune of 859.3 million for the financial year 2017-2018. Then the commission spent 538 million in the financial year 2020-2021 in legal fees, and 611 million in the financial year 2019-2020, and 610.6 million in the financial year 2019, sorry. So quite Assam there in as far as legal fees are concerned. So before we take a break, Jane, you have more to add on what has been making headlines daily that you have.
There's an interesting piece here, away from all the politics and all the petitions. There's a research that was done by a group of researchers, and the conclusion was Kenyan entrepreneurs are told to embrace snake farming. Are we together?
Take that again.
Kenyan entrepreneurs are advised to embrace snake farming. And yes, researchers went to work, put money into this, and came with this conclusion. And this is based on so many issues. Number one, climate change. Number two, snake bites, as per information that is contained on the World Health Organization website, and it being a neglected public health issue.
I would want to actually chime in on that, or rather add on to that. If you look at the number of deaths and amputation, the cases that have been recorded, that have been recorded in Baringo and West Pokot, over 80-70% are caused by snake bites. And we also have, depleted, we do not have a venom bank per se. And I remember, if you took home science, when you're talking about first aid, is that when it was then, if you are bitten by a snake, you need to actually get hold of that snake, whether dead or alive.
They need to identify it.
Yes, so that you can identify the snake, so that the anti-venom can be tailor-made to that particular snake that bit you.
And they actually say that snake bites are one of the most neglected public health issues, especially in tropical and subtropical countries, which are majorly based in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. Now, get this, climate change is actually affecting the movement of snakes, because consequently affecting the weather patterns, affecting their environment, and pushing snakes closer to human beings. And this being a reality, entrepreneurs need to look at the whole market of snake venom and also developing antivenoms, because here they go on to give figures that a snake milker can make around 250,000 per month, and that is now extracting the venom. But now when it comes to selling the particular antivenom, some go as high as $2,000 per gram. That is 200,000 roughly Kenya shillings per gram of antivenom, and especially the rare ones, the rare snake bites. So it is something that researchers have actually sat down and said that much as there were lobby groups that were terming Professor George Wajakoya's this point of his manifesto as absurd, quote unquote, the word has been used here, and retrogressive, we need to actually look into this.
But again, if you look at it, that's a scientific and specialized kind of venture. Not anyone. You cannot wake up in the morning and say that today I'm going to start. There's a lot that will have to go through that process, because if it's done, a research has been done about it, and we don't have actually serious, readily available antivenom in the country.
There's actually a shortage.
There's a shortage.
Major shortage.
Yes, so scientifically, if it's well taken care of and coordinated, I think, look at it, it can be a good venture.
There could be economic benefits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even to the hospitals across the country, because, for example, what Regina said, Baringo and the hot places down at the valley, they face a lot of such issues, because you realize to people who come from those areas, they say that you walk out, when you come back in the evening, you see like 3 or 4 of them resting in your house.
And here they just estimate 5.4 million snake bites a year. And this is just what are reported. So you can imagine, can you be reporting like I've seen 3 snakes today?
No.
You cannot.
I can't remember the last time I saw one, but yes, I can't remember.
Economically speaking, it is an idea that can be taken up. It was a research that was conducted at JKUAT.
Something can be done. Talk of economy. Regina, I'm told that Mombasa remains region's leading port as the vessels increase. Some good projections ahead for the country, right?
Indeed. If you look at, you see, Mombasa port being a port of entry, not just for Kenya, but also for landlocked countries like Uganda. And you see, we are, building back better after COVID-19. And this was not just for East Africa, but also for the globe. So trade that had somewhat stalled. And if you look at what happened in 2020, 2021, there was even a said shortage that, containers were not coming in.
Most countries were not importing.
Imports were not coming in. But now you're even seeing more vehicles coming in. I'm sure you have seen that on the road. So business is quite, it's picking up, so to speak.
Kwa lugha ya mtaa wanasema bana cargo imekwama huko nje, so you'd understand. And actually there's a data which shows that the latest data shows that Mombasa is experiencing a boom in business as vessels numbers continue to increase, even as the country grows through tense but peaceful election. So it says that in the next 2 weeks there'll be 38 cargo ships that will be docking at the port. And now, what do you say about, because Dar es Salaam is also giving us a run for our money?
Now, you see, the problem is, the shilling is not doing so well against the greenback. That's that. And that's why you're seeing, there's been a cash crunch in as far as availability of dollars, especially in the run-up to the election. But this tide is bound not onto what is happening here locally, but what is happening in the United States itself, as well as, the GS and Europe, with the uncertainty around, Ukraine and Russia, so to speak. However, as the shilling is doing so bad against the dollar, we are seeing the value of the dollar going up. So this is something that we need to weather. And if I can check actually the trading of the dollar today as per this particular pullout, let's see, we were doing around 100 and let's get the right figure. The currency right now, we're doing 119 on 119, and the euro we have also it ranging at around 180 and 18. However, the sterling pound is at 141. But if you look at even how the tides are changing when it comes to cost of electricity, or rather cost of energy across the globe, fueled by OPEC production and such, we're in for, in terms of international trade, we can only wait and pray that, we remain steady, 119. But if you look at how the stock market, the Nairobi Bourse has been performing, it has held steady amid this uncertainty when it comes to where we are in a political situation. Weeks before we went to the August polls, we had an interview with the NOC chief executive there, Geoffrey Odundo, who was telling investors, especially local investors, in light of there may not have been per se investor flight at the Nairobi Bourse, but it was good. It was a good time for Kenyans, local investors eyeing to just, stock up. You buy more stocks so that after the elections, they're bound to increase their value. I hope local investors who had money on hand did actually invest in that particular line. So for now, things are looking steady. Actually, the point is we are holding steady. We are holding steady. We've not seen what we saw in 2020 or 2021, or even during an election year, 2013
especially
and
during
2017.
an election year.
Yes.
We have always witnessed a crisis down to the prices of unga.
So I think China also plays a key role, because most of our products come from China and the Asian countries. So you'd imagine with the lockdown in those major ports in those Asian countries, we were not able to get the ripple effect was so huge. So yeah, Regina, you have given us some hope finally.
Yes, we just hold steady. We just need to hold steady.
We have to, man.
Yeah, you've given us some hope.
We need to hold steady, and also we have seen a change in consumer behavior.
Oh yes.
If you have seen,
I can testify to that.
Right now, a majority of Kenyans, and this I'm talking about the middle class. The middle class is also a majority of them carry the weight of the taxpayers
the
and revenue and business and such. There's been a paradigm shift in their consumer behavior. You'll find that now we are having mini retail shops cropping up within the estates, where people would have otherwise walked to the mall to do their shopping there at the retail outlets. They are going to the mini marts that are within the estate, where you see there's a smaller size of margarine, smaller pack of sugar, trying to make ends meet, because in as much as inflation is way up, what is coming to you at the end of the day still is equally the same. So Kenyans are actually changing how they're spending and what they're spending on.
Things are going.
Things are... Actually, I almost said that. How did you just speak my mind, Jane?
Sijali.
Sitajali. All right.
Economy.
Let's take a break. We are going to the next segment shortly after this. Stay with us.